Hello. Today, you're going to meet somebody that you're really going to like. This is Real Talk with Miss Brenda. I'm Miss Brenda from the Lovelady Center, and we are so glad to have you with us. What we're doing is we're introducing you some of our ladies from the center and letting you know what we're all about. Most people have heard about the center, but they all don't know. And I just want you to see who we are and what we're about. Today, I have one of my favorite people in the whole world with me. This is Natasha.
Hi.
Natasha is just the most pleasant, always happy, except in the mornings.
I was about to say
she can be a little morning person that I try to stay away from, but she is a great person, married, got 2 kids, and once in a while, we'll have a lady who has come to us, and when she gets all fixed up, and I don't mean with makeup, I mean with a complete makeover inside and out, you cannot tell she ever did drugs. You look at her and you say, oh, she's lying. Well, I know for sure she's not lying because I know her parents and I know a lot about her. She was a rounder. But this is someone that had a golden spoon in their mouth and a golden fork and knife. I mean to tell you, this girl had everything. And she threw it away. Her mama said she was the perfect perfect child until she reached puberty. Her mother wants to blame it on puberty. I don't know. She has a younger sister named Alex, and Alex is just as wonderful as Natasha is now, only Alex never went through those real rough periods. Natasha, why don't you tell a dab about your childhood?
Well, we started in South Carolina and lived there until I was 5 years old, and that's where my entire mother's family lived. And we moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico when I was 5, and started school, had a great life, played all kinds of sports, did anything and everything a girl could do. I had no complaints. I hurt for nothing, wanted for absolutely nothing.
And your mother and daddy?
They were just absolutely wonderful. They were the ideal picture of what husband and wife should be. They were wonderful, or what a mother and a father should be.
Just good people.
Yes.
They really are.
Yes.
Daddy made a lot of money.
Yes, but not
Mom
without
would stay
hard work.
home.
Yes. Yes. And my mother volunteered everywhere. Like, she was the nurse at the school. She wasn't an actual nurse, but she was the lady who helped in the first aid office at both my sister and I's schools. She always kept herself busy. Always.
Well, sounds better than what I had. So, what happened? Your mama says puberty. I want to know what you say.
Well, I mean, yes and no in that one. When puberty struck, I had my second knee surgery and was no longer playing sports for school anymore. My grades dropped. I cared nothing about I would go to school because it was social hour, not because I wanted to be in class or do my homework or anything like that.
You are social.
Then ended up graduating high school. Unfortunately, I graduated. You can even see in the videos of my graduation, my counselor grabbing me and hugging me on the stage. She was just like, yes, you made it.
And then went on to college.
I did go on to college for a year. When I went on to college, I attended class my first semester. My second semester, I maybe went to the class the first day. And I really was just hanging out and partying. I wasn't doing any drugs at the time. I would have a couple drinks and smoke a cigarette, and there was my fun time.
So there was no drugs?
No. I moved home from college and went into beauty school. When I went into beauty school is when I started smoking pot. And a good friend of mine and I went through beauty school together, and she was married. She was married very young, and her husband was in the military, and he was off in Afghanistan. Well, we like to say we smoked and ate his deployment money. We ate everything in sight because we were smoking. By the time I graduated beauty school, I went on to work at one of the top salons in Huntsville, which was amazing. I learned a lot, created a great business, and was making over $100,000 a year by the time I was 21. And went in to buy my first home. After about 6 months, I had met somebody.
Your first home, how old were you when you bought it?
21.
21. So now we've made it to 21, and we hadn't done hard drugs yet.
No.
I know how old you are now.
It wasn't until I was about...
I'm trying to figure out how you did all this.
By the time I was 23, 24, I was seeing this guy named John. I had started seeing him a couple years prior to that. But there was no hard drugs involved until a couple years in. His father was prescribed oxys and didn't want to take them, so he gave them to John, and John started to sell them for extra money on the side. Well, once there was a multitude of them, we started trying them ourselves. So started snorting the pain pills as a recreational thing at the time. And then in the midst of that had dabbled in cocaine, but nothing more at that point. Didn't realize that they had a stronghold on me until John went out to Texas to work in the oil fields. He's in withdrawal out in the middle of an oil field. I'm in withdrawal back at home in my home.
You did not know you were going to go into withdrawal?
No, because it was just there all the time and just did it. And
I mean, that's how green you were.
Yes. Yes. I ended up, that's the first time I felt withdrawal, and this is the first time I'll tell anybody this. I ended up selling the jewelry that I had in order to get what I needed at that point.
You ended up doing what?
Selling the jewelry that I had.
Your jewelry.
To get what I needed at that moment.
And you went to the drug dealer. Mm-hmm. And did they give you oxys?
At that time, it was oxys, yes. I hadn't started
Were you
using
using the needle
yet.
then?
No.
Snorting them?
Yes.
Crushing them and snorting them?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Why did you have to sell your jewelry? What were you doing with all the money you made?
At that time, I had used all the money I had to send John to Texas.
Because he was in a mess. Mm-hmm. And so he was trying to get oxys in Texas, and you were getting them here.
Yes. So I had sent him the money that I had, but at the time you could only do Western Union. There wasn't Cash App, Venmo, and all that kind of stuff. And I had paid the plane ticket and his living expenses to get out there to work in those fields and for it to last only 2 weeks. So here I am at home in withdrawal trying to go to work at the same time. I didn't have any money left, wasn't paying my bills. It crashed so fast.
When he
went off to Texas.
Okay.
After that, when he got back, he ended up selling his motorcycle that he had for heroin.
Heroin because it was cheaper.
Yes, and it was better.
Better.
That's what we felt.
I don't
we
see
felt
it
like
better.
It was better. And at the same time, we got a lot of it.
Did you just sit down and talk and say, listen, we need to switch over to heroin? Did it never cross y'all's mind to get clean and get out of it?
Several times, but those several times consisted of us sitting in a shower because you felt so bad. Couldn't barely move because your body had become debilitated. And so at that point, you were so vulnerable, willing to do whatever it took to make you feel better. It's a nasty demon.
Huh?
It's a nasty demon. A nasty demon.
So now you go and get heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you even know how to shoot up at first?
No, and I didn't shoot heroin to begin with.
You snorted it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Until the last few months before I went into treatment the first time. Once I used the needle the first time, it was approached to me that let's try it this way. Well, I acted out because I felt like only junkies did it that way.
Well, that's true.
And that's how I felt. And I felt like I wasn't doing anything wrong if I wasn't doing it that way.
But junkies also snort.
Yes, I know.
Pills and
yes,
snort
I
heroin.
know. Yes, I know.
And snort oxys.
They do all of it. So
That's right. But you didn't want to be a
I
shooter.
No, I did not. Well, then when it came up,
You wanted to be
I wanted people
a
not to know.
socialite
Yes.
user.
Yes, and hidden in my bedroom, putting it up my nose.
Yeah.
Going out with these people who have a whole lot of money.
Uh-huh.
And they have no idea. They just thought I had lost weight and was taking care of myself. And
Going to the country club every
yes,
day.
I could. And I did. I did. I mean, I did. Had some of the most wealthy people in Huntsville, I did the women's hair. And they had no idea. But then yet I knew
Did they
about
ask you what kind of diet you were on?
Yeah, Atkins. I'd say low carb.
Well, it was low carb, all right.
Sure was. There was no carbs, no nothing. I wasn't hungry anymore.
Okay, go ahead.
So once we shot it for the first time, it was on. There was no other way to do it. They aren't lying when they say you do it one time, you can't stop. But you can stop. but in those moments you believe you can't. Within 8 weeks of that, I ended up in rehab the first time on Christmas Day.
Well, your daddy and mother didn't know anything.
They had an assumption because I knew too much about other people's children doing stuff. It was almost like I would tell them by telling them about somebody else's kid. Does that make sense?
Trying to keep them
Thinking about those other people and what they might be going through instead of worried about
Well,
what
did your
I might
daddy
do.
know you weren't paying your bills? What did he think was wrong with that?
That I was just blowing the money, because I'm really good at that too. Just blowing it. Like, it'll all be fine. Somebody else will pick up the pieces. Very entitled.
Your mama said you weren't keeping house, you weren't doing anything.
No, I can't. When she tells me about going to get my things out of my home, she's only talked to me twice about it because it is so heartbreaking for her. The things she saw, the things she found. It was. Which ultimately led to the house being foreclosed on and taken, my car repossessed out of their driveway because I had gone to rehab. It was a
It broke your mother and daddy's heart. So tell me now, they paid how much money for that first rehab?
About $50,000.
$50,000 up front they paid.
Yes.
Sent you to Nashville.
Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How was that?
I learned a lot there. I learned a lot there, but when I got there, I didn't want to be there. I actually, I haven't really told anybody this story, but when I got there, they sent me into a chemical detox. My mother was worried about me going through pain and all that kind of stuff, and I can imagine what a mother would think with never going through anything like this.
Did you do heroin on your way to the detox?
I did it right before we left, and I broke a needle in my arm.
Oh, my God.
And I did. I broke a needle in my arm.
You didn't tell them?
Not until we got there. Because I nodded the whole way there. I went into this chemical detox, and I met people in there that were from that county. They were just in detox. They weren't there to go over to a treatment center after. So, met this guy in there, and he ended up giving me his number. And while I was at that facility, I left money outside, and he exchanged and left
Why are you
dope
in
and
the
a needle.
facility? You're doing dope.
I did. One time, I got caught right after I did it.
I thought that was a lady that really liked you too, wasn't it?
I wasn't living with her yet. I was not living with her yet.
Okay, so now you've done hooked up with some guy.
I never even saw him. I just had him bring that, left the money outside. He brought it, left, never heard from him again, never spoke to him again. Nothing. Not a word.
Okay. What was the chemical
They did a Subutex detox.
Subutex? Did they take you right off Subutex right then, or did you keep doing it?
No, right then I was done.
They just took you off slowly.
They started you at a high dose and brought you down. I was there for a week and a half through the detox.
And you came down to zero before you left.
Yes. Yes. And
Okay.
that, I didn't necessarily feel any pain or suffering at that point. That just didn't change the craving and the desire anymore. I still had that. They wanted to kick me out of the program because of what I had done. My dad asked them to let me stay, and they agreed to let me stay. I ended up staying. I ended up being interviewed for Fox News as the unexpected addict next door. And they drove through this big old beautiful neighborhood. They made me look like
Like you were.
Yes. Just a secret addict who was stealing from everybody.
Okay, so now you're the secret addict on TV.
Yes.
Stealing from everybody. Did they say
Yes.
that part?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so had you stolen a lot at that time?
By that point, yes.
You had?
I had broken into my parents' lake house.
You broke into their lake house.
I did, and I took the TVs and electronics and all of that. I actually got a phone call from the daughter of the people who lived next door to it saying, hey, somebody's broken into your parents' lake house. We don't know how to get in touch with them. And I was like, oh my gosh. You
And it
know,
was you.
and it was me.
You
It
were
was
right there
me.
in the house.
No, I was already gone. It was like a day later because it was a lake house, townhouse. People weren't always there. So I end up calling my dad and I'm telling him, and I know, and now I know that in his gut he was like, they did this. Natasha and John did this.
Was John with you?
Yes, but he was the driver. I was the brains of the operation.
Oh, I'm sure. So then, that's when you went to rehab. After that.
Yeah, I was after that.
But you had stolen from a lot of people at that point.
But now, I ended up coming home from rehab and going to stay with my parents. When I came home, my mom helped me get a job over at Publix. I worked in the deli for a little while, and I was doing pretty decent for a moment, and then went buck wild. And I started stealing my mother's credit card and Western Unioning myself, or would take checks and write them to myself and cash them at the bank because we had accounts at the same bank. And lots and lots of money.
How much?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Well over 10,000, I'm sure. And I fortunately wasn't charged with near that.
Go ahead.
So, I'm stealing, I'm doing drugs, and I'm using her credit card to get a cab from her house, sneaking out the window out of my parents' house as a grown woman. Just ridiculous stuff till they end up putting me out. I had a tax return check come and it was like $1,500, and they said, now you need to leave. So John picked me up, and in that time,
When your mother, when they put you out, I know her mother and dad, and I have never known parents to love anybody that much. She's truly had a golden childhood. I want to know how you felt when your parents put you out. How did they feel?
I know my mom, it had to have been the hardest thing she's ever done. I know that she didn't want to put me out, and my dad was the driving force.
Did she know that you had stolen all that money?
Yes.
My God, that's a lot of money.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Did you steal from your customers and all? Oh, by this time, you
No,
were,
by this time I didn't have anybody.
yeah.
I didn't have any of that. I had burned them bridges. And I didn't want to go back into the salon. I just knew that everybody knew. I didn't want anybody to know, you know. So we're like,
How'd your mom and daddy find out?
my mom gets statements sent to her all the time
On bank?
because she manages all the money. So she ultimately saw it, but now she ultimately saw the money from the checks from her Discover card while we were at my grandmother's funeral. She got a call from Discover for all the transactions I had done.
How much was that?
A couple thousand. At least. Yeah. I'm not proud.
No, I know you're not.
I am not proud
Okay,
of
so
any
you're
of
in
that.
Memphis. He's paid $50,000.
Yeah, and I've
You're
come back.
doing drugs while you're in.
I did it one time while I was in
One
there,
time
yes.
while you were there.
Yes, came back, got kicked out of my
But did you
parents.
get detoxed?
Yes, and I didn't re-detox.
That one shot didn't get you off. and
No,
running.
it didn't make me have to go through withdrawal or anything like
Okay.
that again. So I didn't have to detox again or anything like that. Came back, got the job at Publix, went on to be kicked out of the house. Ended up, my mom ended up dropping John off 2 weeks later at the downtown rescue mission. And she said, you can go into the program here. I ended up pulling the I'm going to hurt myself card, which was a lie from the pits of hell. I lied just so my mom would come pick me up.
From Memphis?
No, I was in Huntsville after the first trip to Memphis. And she picked me up and I said, where are we going? And she said, back to Memphis. And she took me back. We didn't know anything about the Lovelady Center, not a word, until I went back to Memphis and I ended up moving in with Miss Ann. And Miss Ann had a jail ministry called Pretty in Pink Ministries, and it was based off of what she had read you had done. So I read her
Well,
book.
that's wonderful.
Yes, so-
that's where you read my book.
Yes.
In Memphis.
Yes, in 2015.
Oh, good. That makes me feel so good that people in Memphis
Yes.
were using that book to go by.
Yes.
I need to write a how-to.
Yes. So
It would
she.
just be empty pages.
Yeah.
And the bottom would say, run, run.
Right.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
I ended up going back into the program, but I sat and hung out with her and took care of her and her husband. And I enjoyed that. But I was so drawn to John that he ended up coming to pick me up.
Oh, my God.
And that was a week before my sister's wedding.
And you didn't get to go to your sister's wedding. And that hurt your feelings.
Yes, but I understand why now.
But you stole money from your mama that day.
I did. I showed up at my parents' house thinking that nobody was there and was going to go in. My intentions were to do this differently than how I did it. My intentions were to be worse than I was. And I ended up seeing my mom, and I was like, can I just get a drink or something? And she let me come meet her through the garage. Well, I knew her purse was hanging right there. And when she walked inside, I snatched her checkbook out of her purse. And she walked out, handed me a drink, and handed me some of the mail that I had had.
So,
I went on to start writing checks again.
writing her checks.
Yes. After my sister's wedding, I got a phone call from my dad, and I was in a hotel. And now John had no idea I had stolen this checkbook. I had told him I had gotten some student loan.
I say they always follow the man, and it seems like he followed the woman here.
Yeah.
You turned to a regular Bonnie.
Yeah, terrible. At this time, so I stole that checkbook. He thinks I've gotten some student loan. He doesn't know what my dad tells me that the police are on their way. He said, your mother has pressed charges because he says I make the money, she controls it. So they pressed charges and they asked for the max to be pressed. Well, the police did show up, but the police would not take me that day.
What?
I don't know. It was just created an investigation. No warrant had been issued yet. So they came, and one of the officers I went to high school with. Ooh. And he, ooh. And I was mortified. But they didn't catch the amount. They had only caught where I had written a check to a restaurant. And so, and later on, they eventually did catch the other things. But they did not take me that day. And they asked me for the checkbook. I gave them the checkbook. And the next thing you know, I'm at some random dude's apartment who's paralyzed.
We don't have much time, but you got to tell this story.
So while we're at this man's house
I
that's
cannot
paralyzed,
see.
while I'm waiting to find out if a warrant is being issued or whatever, I'm basically hiding at this point.
With the paralyzed man.
With John and this paralyzed man, and he's asleep one day. We don't have anything, and we're back on dope and all that kind of stuff. And I go into his bedroom while this man's asleep, and I knew he kept it in this little pouch. Well, apparently it was up underneath his legs. Well, he couldn't feel his legs. Now it's so terrible. It's terrible. So I took it out from under his legs. We're sitting in his living room. We're doing it and all kinds of stuff. I just took it out of the case and put it back. Now, mind you, he asked if these two women had showed up, and they did. They had gone in the room to see him, and
they didn't get the dope, though.
No, I did. So he's like, man, one of them got it, blah, blah. I'm like, well, hey, we got some. You want to do it? I shared his dope with him. It's terrible.
And then did he have to go buy some more?
Yes.
And you did it, too?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The paralyzed man.
Yes.
Shame on you.
It's terrible.
You did so many bad things. I wish we had time to hear that you would never think about you doing.
Sometimes it's hard to even think that really happened. Like, it happened like that. It did. It did.
Well, let me get him a little bit ahead of the story. John got shot. He's no longer with us.
That's right.
Sorry to say. Tasha went where?
I ended up at the Lovelady Center in 2016. And it took me 17 months to graduate because I was very happy with where I was. I was comfortable, had created a new life in Birmingham, but I was comfortable being at the center. Ended up becoming a manager at the thrift store.
Did you ever believe you'd get a life back?
Not like this. No, my idea of what my life would have been single and just doing my own thing and whatever. That's what I had envisioned because I had made it to that point, I felt like, in life.
And you thought you would never have children?
No, I did not. I wanted them badly, but I did not think that I would be with them or have them at all. Ended up having a little hiccup and came back to the center for 2.5 seconds and wound up at your house.
She was one of the girls that had to come help me get ready for Christmas.
That's right.
And I immediately just fell in love with her. She is rambunctious. She's a workhorse. She loves everybody. Everybody loves her. And it just worked out good. So she started working for me.
Yes.
And she met a man, got a husband, and has two absolutely adorable children.
They are the apple of my eye. I am so blessed to have them. I cannot picture life without them.
Can you picture life how it was?
No, it's almost foreign. It's so foreign. It was not a very long-lived experience, but it really sucked.
What has the center offered you?
New life, support, freedom, so much that I don't believe I'll ever be away from the center.
We're starting a beauty school, and she's getting her instructor's license, and she's going to be over the beauty school, which is so important to us. We have a lot of dreams and visions, and that is one of them. And I'm anxious to see that come to fruition. And her daddy and her parents are so grateful that her daddy's on our board of directors. Mm-hmm. And I mean, go ahead and tell them about what else is going on in your family now.
Well, let's see.
Have they forgiven you wholly?
Oh, absolutely, wholeheartedly. My mother says that she should have given me to God a long time ago. That Jesus is who she should have given me to. And the moment she did is when there was new life was born. She said she had to let go because she couldn't fix it. And the amount of love and support and Christ filled in my family, which is so wonderful. We don't have a conversation where the Lord isn't the center or how he has made our lives so much better. You know, like, I never would have thought that I could just come and go from my parents' house again. You know what I mean? And it's not just because I had children now, you know, it's because there's no fear of what I'm going to do. There's absolutely no fear at all. So, which is
Does that mean a lot to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I destroyed things. You know what I mean? But I also had to fix those things, and the Lord helped me repair those things in so many ways. So many ways.
And you never went to prison?
No, thank God. I mean...
How long did you stay in jail when your mother wouldn't get you?
50 days.
50 days.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And walked in the doors of the Lovelady right after. Because there was no stopping.
You haven't had any real problems since you came to the Lovelady Center, except a couple of little hiccups.
Yeah, one hiccup.
Yeah.
One. In almost 10 years. 8 years now. Going on 9. It's... Nothing was better than hearing my parents tell me when we got here, when I was brought to the Lovelady, now it's time for you to start your new life in Birmingham. And that's where I am. And that's where I'll be. And I'm happy to be here.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm beyond happy to have you. Trust me.
I am so crazy about this one. She hasn't gone to the instructor school because working with me, I don't know what I would do without her. She is a major part of my life, and I am excited to have her. I don't know where that wild streak came and surfaced in you. I have a hard time understanding that.
I always had this little desire to be on the edge, but I, for the most part, except for that period of my life, I wouldn't allow myself to because I was afraid of getting in trouble. Getting in trouble was something I didn't want to be in. But then the moment I moved out of my parents' home, it was on. I was ready to try it all. We're ready to have a good time. What the best.
You know what? I can see that. Well, you had a time that could have killed you. Only by the grace of God, you didn't OD.
I don't know how. There's nothing but God in any of that. I've been in places where everybody in the room did the same thing in the same amount, and I'm the only one still standing there. There's got to be, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he's held on to me, or that I have my own angel holding me. Something, you know, like something. But when my dad says it best, he's like, look at what the big man upstairs did for us.
Well, I am so glad to have you as my guest today. I know that people need to see that it's all not people under the bridges.
No.
Sometimes it is the girl next door.
That's right. That's right. There's a lot of us, and a lot of them are just able to cover it because their money hasn't run out yet.
It's bad. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I love you.
I love you so much.
Okay.